Aloha, everyone, and welcome back, Debra. Oh,
Thank you so much.
What do you? My cat's right here. She suddenly had to be right in front of me. Get your butt
I'm
out. No. Aloha, medium Betsy Palmer and Beth Asphasia Rising. Hello, welcome.
Oh, Beth, yes.
Last week we had Debra come and join us to talk about her new deck, the Clarity Tarot. And we just ran out of time and we hadn't even finished really touching on anything other than the deck. I mean, we had some teasers. Oh, aloha, Tony and Antoinette. Lisa Rhodes, hello. People are starting to pour in. The notification must have popped. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to this conversation because you dropped the hint about using a deck, and I'm going to use yours today, obviously. But the idea kind of is percolating, and I'm thinking of other decks I might want to play with.
Yeah.
To contact the Akashic, which that gives me chills.
I'm so excited that you're happy for this information because I just knew this about
so a little backstory about me and the Akasha. Yeah. Like when I was a teenager, I accidentally visited in my dream.
Ninth dimension. Yeah.
Right. And I was just like, where am I? I totally thought I was in a waiting room. And so I was sitting there and one of the beings of light showed up to can we help you? And I'm like, is this man? And they're like, oh geez, another dreamer. And
another dreamer.
Yeah, that was my first foray into the Akashic. And then I've done a few guided meditations since then. And it's like, oh, this place. Okay.
Has a lot of information.
Right.
I know.
So, aloha, Jamie, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path. Did I miss anybody? Hello to everyone coming in. Moderation Maui, aloha. That is a friend of mine here on Maui. Moderation Maui.
Awesome.
Amazing artist. Oh, and Tarot Stash is lurking.
Oh,
Palmer definitely wants reading, please.
What's that? What did he? What? I can't read that.
I'll put it up on screen.
Because I need my dollar store readers for this. I definitely want a reading today, please. You know what? I'm going to teach you so much about how to do one for yourself, of course, but join together and do one for each other, plus put it into your practice.
Yes, please.
So I have a lot to share. And the reason I'm excited is because it's all worked for me. And I've practiced over and over and over again to make sure, and I've vetted it to a point where the accuracy is just fantastic. So I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm ready to dive in. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
First thing I want to do is invite Divine Providence in to embrace us all here on the talk live, and then anybody listening to this afterwards know that can have divine intervention at any time, divine care. And that's what I want to share with you today, is if you can just back up far enough from your understanding, your own understanding about the Akashic records, just entertain the thought for the next hour that this might be true, and just have a pad of paper and a pencil. I hate to be bossy about that, but also if you have a question as I move along, because I'm going to get through a lot of information, just pop it up, and maybe Jonathan can put it up big so I can read it in real time. That would be great. So the reasons you would do an Akashic Records reading a lot of times is if someone's struggling with a situation a pattern, a bad, negative pattern in their life, and you wonder where it's coming from, and you have to decide whether it's this lifetime or a past lifetime, a memory of past lifetime. So what connects us, oh, and by the way, the information I'm going to give to you today is based on Andrea Hess's soul realignment, because I'm a soul realignment practitioner, and I learned her method 10 years ago. I've made it my own. She insists that you douse with a pendulum. And I love pendulum, but I don't work with pendulums. I love having them, like having a bunch of decks, but I always reach for the same one, that type of thing.
Right.
So I'm not going to teach you how to do soul realignment. I'm not going to teach you how to do Akashic Records. You already know that stuff. I'm going to teach you how to use the cards to this. So I'm going to share with you how I do one. So first of all, in the deck, any deck that you have, I do a yes, no like this. And I think I touched on this last week. I'll just touch on it this week. When someone comes to you and says, will I ever be married or something like that? Of course, you want to reframe that. Will I meet my person in the next 6 months? You want to make sure you don't get carried away with things. But when you set out 5 cards, yes, no, 5 cards, and the answer is no, let's say that would be a horrible message, right? No, you're never going to be married. You'll never meet but see, the thing is that the 5 cards, and I encourage 5 versus 3, it has to be an odd number, but those 5 cards are going to tell you why the answer is no. Okay, so it's important. So there's times you do yes, no, and you read the cards for the reason why. And then there's times yes, no, that I'm going to teach you here where you don't care about it's just a yes, no type of thing. So, so one of the things I do is, first of all, when someone comes in with a problem, a pattern in their life, and they want a soul realignment or Akashic Records reading, I do a soul profile first. And I first ask if and when I do a reading, it's not on the spot. It's a report I make, and then the reading lasts about an hour and a half. But this is the report I make. So if you have a protocol, or if you don't have a protocol, you can just kind of write some stuff down, because it's nice to have a list and go through it one by one. I first ask if the soul I'm reading for is a mono soul or a soul shifting soul. The mono soul will tell me that the soul that was in the body at birth is the soul that's going to remain throughout the lifetime. Soul shifting can come in many forms. I only read one form, and that is a one-time soul shift, which is a walk-in situation.
Right.
And so when I do, so I'm dowsing for one of those 2 things on my list. So when I do a yes, no, 5 cards down, and I'm not going to care what the cards are. I just want yes or no. Is this person a mono soul? Then I do 5 cards, and let's say it says yes, then I don't have to douse on the other, because it's yes.
Right.
And one of the things when you start using the tarot for a lot of different things is that you just make an agreement in the beginning of the throw that whatever, that this, if I see this in this way, it means X type thing. So it's a nice kind of building a relationship with the tarot. If perhaps it's a soul shifting, so there's a one-time soul shifting, a walk-in situation, then later in the reading I'm going to find out in this lifetime, not a past life, of course, it's this lifetime, at what time that happened, and if that there was cause for disruption or problems. So that's the first one. Then the next one is going to be divine gifts, what you came in here to do. If someone's having a hard time manifesting, do you mean someone shifts soul in this life? Yes. No, I'm glad you asked. A walk-in situation are two souls that agree before incarnating that they will switch. One of the souls just wants to experience infancy, being a toddler, maybe a teenager, or more. It can happen anytime, and that's all they want. So there would be a shifting, and at the moment of shift, It's perfectly aligned. So an older, wiser soul does not want to go through infancy and toddler and all that stuff. Just wants to come in and do big things. So they switch. And a lot of times that it can happen as going to sleep and waking up the next day and you're shifted. It could be a car accident, near death. It could be a whole bunch of different things.
Right.
But there's an opportunity for a wiser soul to come in and the other soul is set free. The karmic lessons that original soul needs to learn is still the burden of the walk-in. So, but usually people will start doing different things. They what yes no technique are you using? There are many ways to do this. Thank you so much. My deck has a yes, a Y, and an N on the corner of each
card.
Each card. Those of you not using my deck, the Clarity Tarot, it's a little bit harder, but I'll tell you the formula I used for it. So the formula is every odd number is no. Every court card is no. Every even number is yes. And every major arcana is yes. So the devil will always be yes. But I highly recommend you use, there's another way to read it, though. It's a little bit different later on in the protocol, but that's how I do yes, nos. You could also use for yes, nos, like the mono soul and the soul shifting. You could do a pendulum if you're comfortable with that. But this is all about tarot. So if someone in this lifetime is having a hard time manifesting their best self, it's usually because they're not aware of their divine gift, why they're here, their purpose, blah, blah, blah. So we want to get to the bottom of that. And in my protocol, there's 8 centers that I check into, and they're not the chakras. The chakras we always work on balancing. The energy centers will not be even. There's going to be 1, maybe 2 centers that are activated more than 50% of the time. And so if you filter life in, all the information of life in through and process it through that one gift, then you just manifest mad fast. So just understanding how you think and where you think is all, the way it is. But there's 8.
Embracing your gifts.
What's that?
Embracing your gifts. Yeah.
Right. And then making decisions through your gifts. So if someone's divine self-expression, let's say, and also divine truth, then that person needs to think about being an investigative reporter, right? Because the truth is not universal truth, it's subjective truth. It's interest wherever they are, and explore and then voice it. So it's like that. But if someone has been raised in conflict, then they haven't discovered that. And having a reading is a blessing. Now, how I douse for the 8 is that I make 8 piles out of my deck, 8 piles, and I keep going and one right after the other and just stack them, stack 8 times. There's going to be a few left over, 6 left over. Set them aside. I grab the first one, which would be the first energy center, which is divine compassion, and I'd count how many major cards is there. I wouldn't do a yes, no. It'd be how many major cards is in that stack. So I will always have 1, maybe 2 that have more than, it's like life saying, here. It's like, you cannot miss on this technique. You cannot miss. So then I decide which energy center that goes into the profile. And then the planet of origination. So when we our first spark from God, it's my understanding and belief that we land on a planet that we resonate with. Not everybody here on Earth is an earther. You can pick them out in the crowd, though. That's for sure. But that's for another time. So we would, so for instance, someone whose first spark from God landed Alpha Centauri, they're the type of people, they have grown up with techniques, or not techniques, but traits of running towards the fire, right? Alpha Centaurians are very, they're your heroes, or superheroes. But if your first spark is for Beta Centauri, which is the Hadarian planet, which is real close, then you're the person that comforts the people who were in the fire, right? So it's you get to know what their basic trait is, what they're familiar with. And that's so important because, and I also do this with numerology. I have created a sheet, a protocol with just the numbers, not the tarot, because it takes a long time to figure that out. But I have that shortcut somewhere, but this is how I do it. So I'm going to show you here. These are the planets.
Wait, let me.
Okay, these are the planets that I have. And then this down, this over here is if I have.
It's hard to remember which side is which. Heavy mirrors.
I know, it's so weird. So if I have an Arcturian, a Syrian, or anybody from the Pleiades, I have to do an extra douse on how much extraterrestrial is in this situation, because we have a lot of them here. So anyway, you see that's A, B, and C right here.
Right. And
then 2 sections. So what I do when I douse with the tarot is that I will take one card. I shuffle the deck, and I do 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, right, in a stack. And the stack that has a major card is the line I go. So let's say the second card was B. So now I douse 1, 2, 1, 2. So from under that. And the next major card I get, so say, okay, we go to 2. The second one comes out, right? And then I go and say which of the 4, the 4 here are the ones, by just doing major cards only. So I'm laying the cards down, and this is how it would be. Let's say it's the second one. So okay, I have the second column. So are they the 1 or 2? So let's say they're the first one. So then there's 3 planets in the first one: Procyon, Sirius, and Arcturus. Of course, I would choose the extraterrestrial ones, but then I would go continue and go 1, 2, 3. Procyon, Sirius, Arcturus. If I don't have a major card on that dowsing, I just go back. Procyon, Sirius, Arcturus. See, and then go back, and then the major card is going to come up and say, okay, Sirius, I've got a Syrian. So then the protocol at that point, as I go into the parallels and stuff, that's a different story. But that's how you would douse. Is there a question on that? It's this comes up again later on, but I work with the major cards. Sometimes I work with yes, no, and the cards that make up yes, no mean nothing, like the first question, and right. Sometimes it means a lot closer to the end of the reading. So that is fantastic. Tremors and shakes so bad. Oh, this means that you're an alien. No, I'm sure you're very evolved. It says, oh, it's hard to use pendulums. I got to tell you, you can use the tarot for any agreement. With if like, for instance, whenever I see a reverse Queen of Swords, and don't let this stick in your head, because this is my thing, it tells me a personality of a person I'm reading that's very specific, and that's the kind of agreement I have. So Lord, you want me to school this person or talk to this person about their behavior, or have insight about their behavior? One time it was a lady called and said their husband left, and upset and all this stuff, and they had a big fat fight, and what's going to happen. And I got the reverse Queen of Swords, meaning she was the instigator. And so how do I say that to someone? You're a bully. You're a bully. That's why he left. And then I read him, and he's like this this Hadarian, very soft person. I just said he's got to win some of these times when you bring things up. He's got to win. So that's how you deal with it. So this planet of origin, we've gotten through that, and that will.
We have a question.
Okay.
So it is 3 piles from a mixed deck after we do 8 piles.
So
we've done the 8 piles.
Right. Let's see, how to explain it. This is the protocol I use. For the first question was just yes, no, mono soul or not. The divine gifts was a completely different way to read the cards. It doesn't
that's
mean
the 8 piles.
That's just the 8 piles. And then you read each pile to see how many major cards are in each pile. And maybe I should say that the 8 energy centers, divine compassion, creation, order, divine love, self-expression, truth, power, and wisdom. So if you have labels on those piles, then you can see, divine wisdom. So this person, there's a whole story to that, but that fits into their soul profile. And then I mix the deck back up. We're going to the next question, and that's the soul group question.
That's the soul group, and that's the 3.
Now, yeah, and that's but this 3 here, you can have other questions. You don't have to see,
Why don't you hold that up again? Can you hold that paper up again?
Planet of origin is my thing. And planet of, that's my way of going into the records to find out somebody. So, but the reason, what these mean, there's a huge paragraph for every single one, because there's different, and then there's overlays and underlays. If you're interested in this technique, check out Andrea Hess and the Empower Soul. You might enjoy learning her procedures, because I don't do everything the same way. Of course, this is outdated because I just love what I learned 10 years ago and never upgraded, because I love it. It works for me. So that's the.
I'll have to add that to my reading list.
Yes. Well, she's got a whole course on it.
Yeah. Well, I've slowly been collecting books of past life regressions.
You past life regret? Oh, you have?
Well, because that's something I've been doing organically since I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 13, I had a past life regression, and I just kept having doors blow open and memories pour out. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing the same one that was done for me to other people and giving them past life regressions. And,
exactly.
Just self-taught. So,
right.
But and now I'm like, let's see what the professionals have to say about different categories of past life regression stuff. So,
well, it's, and I feel the Akashic Records is an impeccable storehouse of what we did, where we went to school, where we lived. And but there's no emotion in it. So if you have a regression, excuse me, this is my opinion, the way I look at it. When I go into the Akashic Records and I see emotion, I'm not in the records. You lived, you died in childhood here, you got hit by a truck there. It's not, that's it. But when you go into the memory of it, see, that's what the next thing I'm going to explain is the golden web. It's like every time we incarnate, we weave a golden web of memory.
Right.
And sometimes we misremember from past life things. And this is when it can start having problems in our life. How it's going to manifest is if there's like leaks in each of this, so but
she just put up Andrea's playlist. So.
Awesome. Awesome. So the golden web is then I go into spirit guide lineup, because we're born with one spirit guide, and I don't count them because they're just our moms kind of thing in spirit. But as we, because we don't make too many decisions, and that's what guides are meant to do, is to give us access to good decisions by giving us impulses to do certain things. And as infants and toddlers, we don't make very many decisions. So with the spirit guide lineup, I use the tarot as I start counting from age 3, and then I douse there, where it's again a mixed deck, and I go from 3 to about 18 or 21, something like that, depending on, and see when their guide team started, what happened in their life in this lifetime that brought a spirit guide in to help cope with whatever it is. And that's where I do read the cards as far as the specific card. So I start with age 3, a mixed deck, nothing on my table. And I really like this. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you love that deck. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Soul Star. I appreciate that. So then I turn the card down at age 3, right? If it's not a major, I go to age 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, blah, 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 blah. And then there'll be major cards that come up at certain ages. Let's say at 13, the Tower comes up. I will write down that it's the Tower. Somewhere in the age 12, 13, 14, there was a guide that came in to help cope with something that happened unexpected. Now, this is just information. I just make a note of it. I haven't done anything yet. I just make a note of it. And then we go through that. There's probably people who have 4 to 6 spirit guides that kind of hang out their whole life. There's others that come in as we get interested in things. And sometimes they help us, and sometimes they forget. My friends.
Apparently my sound is wonky, so I'm going to jump out and come back in. So keep talking.
Okay. So sometimes, like when we're little, we will hire or ask for help to come in because we're having a hard time in our childhood. And so that to have a spirit guide help us, let's say, be quiet. Don't speak out of turn. It'll get you in trouble. So we have a spirit guide come in saying, shh, shh, shh. As soon as you have an impulse to join a conversation, it backs you up. Because when you're young, this is basically what happened to me. When you're young, sometimes there's grave consequences for speaking out of turn. And that's the way it was for me. I prayed and prayed, do not talk. Well, when I got older and want to teach and want to write books and be vocal, I would go through, I'd still do it, but I'd go through terrible physical sweats and shakes. And the first part of my performance would be just terribly make everyone uncomfortable with my nervousness. And then afterwards, I would be haunted by, I shouldn't have said this. I should have said this. I could have done better. Well, that's because when I was a certain age, in my soul realignment that I had, that I did hire a guide to help me shut up. And so once I realized, oh, bless and release. Okay, you did great. You kept me alive. And out of harm's way when I was a kid. I'm going to let that go. And there was other things I did. And then now I can't shut me up. I mean, I can, and I don't have that sleepless nights before. And I rarely afterwards say, oh, I should have done this. It's just the normal stuff, right? So that's why the spirit guide lineup is this. Well, let me talk to you about, so that's separate. Now we're into the
We have
next
a question real
call.
quick here.
Oh, a question. Unlock your intuition. How accurately?
Unlock your intuition, how to accurately and reliably access your most valuable resource by Andrea Hess.
I haven't read that, but I like her work. Is the book? No, the book is not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is soul. It's called a soul realignment course.
Soul realignment course.
So to learn that, you would need to go to her website, Empowered Soul, and look for soul realignment, because that's sort of what I'm talking about. And she has a whole course on it. And I like her style because it's not just, yeah, you listen to videos and you read the text and everything, but she has live phone calls every 2 weeks. So you can come and bring your questions, because it's a complicated, in-depth training that you're going to, it's going to be really cool if you wanted to do that. I can check to see if I have enough. So let me do this. Let me say this for everybody here. I'm going to check to see if there's something a link I can get to you that would discount the course or something. So give me the rest of today to figure that out, and then
You can always add it as a comment in this video after it's up on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Technology. All right, so keep checking the video. Awesome, thank you. So the golden web is our memory. So now we're getting into past life stuff, because this is the memory we bring in, and there are parts of our that we misremember. It goes into memory. We could be in memory loss, causes us to forget the aspects of our divine nature. Memory added. And this is what we manifest, or we create with every incarnation. So our memory of the next and our lessons we learned. But the memory could be added, causing us to think that we're someone we're not, and that experience. And then we've experienced things that we haven't actually experienced. There's memory clouded, causes us to be unsure of our own choices, leaves us insecure about our path. Memory programmed. This is what I run into a little bit more than I'd like, means that they've then participated in cults or religions that program their followers with certain beliefs. And then memory highlighted. Now, this is interesting, because I've had several clients that had OCD and phobias, and not so much where you have to tap the wall 3 times before entering a room, that kind of thing, but there's a you have to say a prayer before you start the car, so these kind of things, obsessions. And that is a symptom. You have to douse on it to figure it out. There's a symptom of memory highlighted, where you constantly make certain choices over and over again, and it occurs with negative choices. So that's what I figure out. So I douse on all of that. First of all, what might have happened. Now, when I douse on that, I literally go again with a shuffled deck, and one by one, memory loss. If it's a major, it's a yes. And then I go through all these
You have a list of questions that you covered.
Clouded, program, highlighted, added, all that stuff. If I get a yes, which would be a major card, then I reshuffle and say, okay, memory added, how many lifetimes ago? I have a full deck already shuffled. 1, 2, 3, major card 3 lifetimes ago. You see what I'm saying? This is how you make an agreement on how to use the tarot with this. The next thing, so I know 3 lifetimes ago there's an issue. I don't know what the issue is yet. Right? I'm not going to go look at it. It's just there on my list. And I don't know if all these are going to be connected. So then I douse on earthbound spirits. Those are present life. Some are present life, some are not, but earthbound spirits are present life, and they run kind of programs, emotion, and they can be attached to the mental body or the emotional body, right? And so, and I have a chart on that. Then there's ghosts. So Earthbound spirits are kind of common, and ghosts are sort of rare. And I have a protocol for that. So they will run programs. I know you won't be able to see this, but this is my chart that I created.
Here, I can put you on full screen.
Okay. So again, running, so these entities that are here will be running a certain energy program. So you can see how I have the 3 columns, and then 4 rows.
Listens per column.
Well, what it says here is that it's running a program. So if you had an earthbound spirit nagging at me, it might be running an energetic signature or a program of acceptance. And I have to be accepted. And the sun rises and sets of someone liking me, that type of thing. So this is just added information, right? Added information. We're not getting rid of it just yet, even though you can get rid of it. We just need to see what's coming in. And same with ghosts. Now, how I do that is another mixed deck. And then one down are there earthbound spirits, are there ghosts, is there, and so they are all earthbound spirits, and ghosts are souls that are misled. And then of course there is poltergeists that are not souls. Poltergeists are a collection of energy that has gained power, and it usually attaches to things and not people. But if it's around, then you can identify it and then clean up that part of your house, right? Because it can affect your mood. That's the information. And then it goes, before time runs out, could we get a sample 5-card reading? Yes. Okay. Yes, I will. And I'm almost done. See what? Oh, good. It's only.
Wait, start playing.
Okay. So then I go through, and I'm not going to go explain all of them, but there's contracts that we make in past lives that carry on through. Some of them are one-sided contracts. Some of them are not. The 3 major ones are contract of protection, where we vow we're going to protect someone, even though whether they like it or not. Contract of healing, where we feel responsible for someone else's health. And then soulmate contracts. And this is not romantic. It's very, very toxic, especially if it's one-sided. And I want to tell you that I shy away from soulmate words and twin flame words, because it's a trigger word to make women stay in poor situations. I think it's abusive. So I'm just on the record for that. So I think at one time it helped with the conversation, but stay away from that. I also do curses. I don't do curses. I don't do curses, but I douse for curses, spells, bindings, pacts, vows. Now, vows are sticky. That's a sticky thing, because the vows are heartfelt promises we either make to God or someone else. And so the common vows that I douse on, again, with the mixed deck one, and then the major card, is vows of obedience, chastity, poverty, suffering, sacrifice, and silence. So you douse on all those and just make a note. You don't go into the story about it, right? You just make a note. Do you work with
Fae or factor Fae in your belief system in some way?
I don't know that. I'm not familiar with that.
The Fae are, fairies are part of the Fae, but Fae are their own thing. It's kind of like nature spirits that are wild, right. Fairy-like.
Yes. Right. So they belong to the second dimension, and they're lovely. They're part of the earthers. If you work with that, I bet you may be an earther, shaman, plant medicine. All of that is the second, because you've got the crystal core and then the second dimension. And so people who align to that are amazing. I don't align to that. I'm more of the upper octaves and bring
Right.
each down, that type of thing. And then, of course, we have the third dimension, which is our stuff. The fourth dimension of what our opinion of our stuff and everyone else's stuff. But where it's like sometimes we think we have to go through the fifth dimension to understand the sixth dimension, and that's not true. It's like candles on a cake. So you went right to the ninth dimension with your Akashic time space. The whole subject is fascinating.
Fascinating. I have the next 4 hours to spare.
Thank you. What a great compliment. Thank you so much. I find it interesting, and it blends into everything, right? It just blends into everything. So there's also another thing I douse on, and that's negative unjustified karma. Now, I have a belief my understanding and belief system is that you don't accrue karma or try to work off bad karma. Karma is a perfect system where every action we take has a partner up to that end.
Immediate thing. It's not something that builds up.
Right. And that's it. That's encouraging because enlightenment can happen in an instant. Your reading that you give someone could actually be the moment where they course correct and think, oh, I'll make this choice. And all of a sudden this bounty happens for them. It's not because you did it. It's just you recognize their best self and then they embrace it. And that's why we do what we do. The last thing, next to the last thing, so I can go on. Negative unjustified karma is always past life. It's never this life. Now, it is what happens with unjustified. So something happened in a past life that was so traumatic that when creating the memory suit, the golden web, you misremembered or took on a burden that really wasn't yours. Because as we know, we incarnate with agreements, right? As tough as they might be, we have. So here's an example. This was never in anyone's reading, so I'm not going to betray anybody by saying it. Let's say 3 lifetimes ago, your mom said, you went out to play, I'm going out to play. And your mom says, take your little sister. I don't want to take my little sister. You take your little sister out. Mom and dad need some time, right? And so you begrudgingly drag your little sister out to play and then lose track of her. Well, a little sister goes into the pond and drowns. And that experience, the agreed upon experience for this situation is, and you can't say that at the time because it's terrible, but the family has to go through the burden of that. And then the young girl carries that with her. That's quite a burden. But it's an agreement there's no karma to that. You know what I mean? But
right.
Emotionally, you do bring it in. And how that manifests is a hovering mother or father who doesn't allow their children to go anywhere. They can't walk alone. They can't make any decisions by themselves. So you can kind of see if you find yourself just in real life, just someone who leans to that might be, I'm not saying it is because you have to go into the records to find out, that might be unjustified karma. So at the end of my report, what I do is I start going back and see, okay, there's a entity attachments here and there, and then there's a vow there, a binding there, I've doused everything. And that's when I go into the story of that lifetime. So I've already said 3 lifetimes ago, I'll just stick with that. After that, mix the cards. Right. I'm on a whole different thing now. I want to know what happened in that lifetime to cause this disruption in this lifetime. And that's when I do a Celtic cross. So the cross is the actual death. The left card is what happened just prior to the death. The right card The right side of the cross is what happens immediately after the death. And then the process, all the other cards is a process, and then it can go on from there. I always like, if the 10th card is not a major card, I do this with regular readings too. If it's not a major card, I keep laying cards down until I reach a major, each representing about 30 days, roughly. And that will tell me roughly, if everything stays the same, how long of a phase a person's in. So, there's tons of ways to use the tarot, just tons. So that is okay. When you doubt,
did you use any other equipment other than tarot cards?
No, my favorite card. I have such a relationship with the cards that I just use that. But also, I just really feel I need to say this as well. Whenever you do a reading, whether it's past life or whether it's regular life, not every card that lands on the table is going to be one for you to read. Some of those cards are a placeholder, right? So don't labor trying to make something fit, because the divine is working with you. It's a flow. If you start saying, oh, here's the 2 of Cups, and I'm doing a money reading. What does that mean? Don't even do it. If nothing comes to mind, just move to the next card, because you can always work backwards if you're prompted to by spirit. So that's why I work with tarot only until I meet something new. But that's how I do it. But so then I have a whole report of what happened when, and then I deliver it over Zoom, recorded, send them the recording, and that's that. But if you wanted to do mediumship with the tarot, I do the same Celtic cross situation, but that's usually a face-to-face thing. Yeah. And if you wanted to do superfluous Akashic Records work with the deck that I have, what Kate did was, Kate is the illustrator, and she went into all these different points of history with the images. You'll have an image from the 20s or in the 1800s, the 20s, So as you're doing a reading, if a card hits you just right as far as the date, then as far as the date goes, then you can go ahead and ask. You can go ahead and ask, is the date valid for what's going on? Is someone from the 20s coming through to talk to them? This is great information. Looking forward to a book
by Debra.
One of my books is coming out. I have a book coming out on the tarot for everyday life, coming out spring of 24. Thank you very much. But I also teach this. I have classes, and usually it's people who, they kind of know their way around a reading. Pretty much are the students that I
much to take in.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot. Yes,
Betsy Brain, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
just take one thing and try it out. Assume
that's what the replay is for.
Oh yeah.
Focus on one thing, go and play with it, come back and see what the next thing is.
Right.
You don't have to take it all in at once. That's one of the reasons why I like doing this. So.
Oh, I think there was a question. Does your tarot class cover this, or is another course on the website? So my tarot course is basic tarot, and it does have practice sessions in it that explain how to do readings on the fly. So it's really good information if you were doing events. Have anybody done events where it's like 3 minutes and you're out, next. And so it gives really good ways of getting quite accurate right away. But this stuff is usually on a 1-to-1 Zoom course that I, not course, but it's a ask me anything kind of thing. And wherever you are, the system would be Sedona walk-in readings.
Sedona walk-in readings without voting.
Oh no, the system. Yeah, a protocol, and you can create your own. You don't have to, do mine or I mean, I highly recommend Andrea Hess's work, but it opens you up to not every soul on the planet is human. Come in with so much more information than they even know to do, and my job is to point people in the direction so they can really enjoy their best self. But there is something else I think I might have mentioned it last time. Remember in the very beginning, I was saying when you're doing yes, no's with my deck or with any deck, I did tell you how I came up with that. You have 5 cards out. And remember, I was saying those 5 cards are going to tell you why it's yes or why it's no. And if the question is, will I meet my guy? That's usually the question in the next 6 months. And the answer is no, it's going to tell you why. So you don't just say no. How it's going to tell you no is, let's say you're going to have like maybe the 6 of judgment.
You want to do a sample reading?
Oh, yeah, I could do that. Another fun way of doing things, so as we don't have enough time. I have so much to say.
Well, that's why we had 2 shows, because we ran out of time last time.
So, somebody have a question? Let's see.
Well, I think Betsy was asking for a reading, so maybe we could do one.
Betsy,
what was your question? She says, oh yes, mini readings. Oof. Yeah, those 3-minute quickies that can.
Those are fun. Part 3.
I love it. Tony says, part 3.
Anytime, I would love it. Oh my gosh. I'm going to, and by the way,
next week, I'm actually having Betsy join me. And usually we do readings, but this time we decided we wanted to do a little deep dive into a different system that most people don't study. Good. So we were going to do a deep dive into actual Chinese astrology. Everyone knows the year, but that's only one of 4 pillars that you do like the whole chart from. So you got your year, element and animal, your month, element and animal, your day, element and animal, and hour, element and animal.
Wow.
And by knowing all 8 characters, you can actually do a lot of predictions and right. We do have a question here from Betsy. I started getting communication from new guides. How does this look?
So I'm going to move into your energy signature. Could I have your birthday? Maybe. Don't be shy. Because I like to do numerology as well. As I'm doing this. So if you're calling in a new guide.
July 24th, 1960. I was like, I was trying to remember. I was like, I know it's July. It just took me a minute to remember the number. July 24th, 1960.
Oh my gosh. So you're a master number 11. I don't know if you realize that. So you're pretty awesome. Oh, everybody's funny. Awesome.
I'm an 11 as well.
Yeah, I'm an 11 too. But that tends to happen. Oh, you're having a 2-personal year. Yes, it's all about collaboration and looking at things new. So this new guide, let me just move into that and see what's happening. So what's interesting is I'm getting a lot of wands. This guide is going to give you impulses. So all I'm doing here is looking at the wands. I'm not saying yes, no, because it's not a yes, no question. We just said, what's the communication like? It's all wands. And it's the first card out is the Four of Swords, meaning take a rest from thinking and move forward with action. I've got the King of Wands, the Knight of Wands, the Three of Wands, which is commerce. So Three of Wands could be commerce. But the cool part about it is that we've got the 10 and the Queen of Pentacles. So it's time for you to act. And once you act, put into motion, make an offer, have someone hire you, the money is going to come in. And it's not just going to be a little trickle. It looks like with the 10 of Pentacles, there would be the amount of legacy. So that is the potential, the full potential of a guide. Don't be nervous about it and don't feel under the gun with this information. Just move and life is going to unfold and you say yes to everything. But it has to be at the level of action, not wishes. And you'll do really well. Do really, really well.
She says 11 and or 2, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no wonder we've always vibed with each other, Betsy. I'm an 11 too myself.
Have you ever done your social security number? Don't say it online. But I did my social security number and it's 11. My birthday is 11. My name is 11. So,
that's so
jibber jabber. That's what it means. Talk. So that's how you do
Tony
it.
says master number shouldn't be broken down. So 11. Just plain old 11. You don't bring it back down to 2.
But in a personal year, it can break down to 2 because that's the 9-year cycle. Excuse me, 9-year cycle. And I've noticed when I do numerology, let's say I'm doing a psychic reading on the hotlines and there's they just met someone and that someone is a 2 personal year. I have discovered that the chances of that being a successful collaboration in the beginning of the year is really not good because that person that has a 2 personal year has to address everybody and every project differently than what they're used to. And that's tough.
So I'm laughing because he said, have you ever added up your social security number? So I'm like, I got to do this.
Did you?
I also got an 11.
Okay. How many people have the social security number for 11 that you're destined for this?
Betsy did hers. Hers is 7.
Right. Oh, that's mystical stuff. That's that.
Well, I was born on the 7th, so 7's always been a very magic number for me. September 7th here.
But also a 7 means that you are a terrible liar. I did some research on numerology. I was preparing. Did I tell you this? I was preparing research for this book on numerology. I was thinking about writing. And I added up. I took 100 serial killers and their birthdays. This is so weird. I know. And I added up their birthday. I didn't go into their crimes. Not into that. And I found out that there's 1 2 life path murderer. And I thought, I bet you it's a woman. And I bet you she was under the spell of a man. And sure enough, I went back to research. Oh, I was abused by this man. Well, you still got to go to jail. You killed people. But it was fascinating because there's a 30% more chance with 1 number to be a serial killer. But I'm not going to tell you which number that is. You have to wait for the book.
Because you got to come back for part 3.
Let me tell you about the numbers. See, 11s, they never shut up. I sure appreciate the time.
Oh, this has been so much fun, and I'm definitely going to be watching this a few times with my notepad to just like take some notes. Yeah.
And call me. You know, on my website, I've got my phone number, I got my email address. It's just my name at yahoo.com. Just reach out.
Yeah, all of that information is in the description.
Yay!
So yeah, click a link in the description. Make sure you drop a comment down below if you're watching the replay. Let us know what you think. And you know, if you do play with any of these techniques, drop a comment and let us know about it. I'd love to.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I'll look out, I'll contact Andrea Hess and see if there's a little direct thing that give you a discount or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I'll drop it in there.
That's awesome. And golly, we will all be rewatching. Yes. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Oh, Beth pipes in. Her life path is 8. She and I have the same birthday, which is funny because I'm an 11. She's an 8. Social Security is 4.
Oh boy, you are destined to be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable financially, we got to talk.
Yes, please reach out to Debra. She's amazing, and I'm sure a one-on-one session with her would just blow your mind. Yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be really fun. Thank you so much, John.
Oh, of
Everybody,
course.
you're
Just
so
wait
nice.
one moment. I'll say
Everything.
goodbye to everyone. Aloha, uiho, and yeah, come by next week. Betsy and I will be talking about the 4 pillars of Bajie, which is Chinese astrology, or one of the 2 schools of Chinese astrology. The second one's a little complicated, so I don't want to go there. But thank you, everyone, and until next time, aloha.